There is a specific kind of discomfort that nobody prepares you for. Not the discomfort of the work. You've heard about that. You've been told it's supposed to be hard, that discipline requires effort, that the early mornings and the long hours are the price. You've made peace with that kind of difficult. The discomfort I'm talking about is different. It's the discomfort of watching everyone else perform while you build, of scrolling through announcements and updates and celebrations of goals not yet achieved, and feeling the pull, not toward their lives, but toward the performance itself. The pull to say something, to signal that you're also building, to make the progress visible before it's real. That pull is the real enemy, not distraction, not laziness. The desire to be seen doing the thing you're supposed to be doing quietly. Most people give in, not in a dramatic way, in a small incremental way. A post about their new morning routine, a tweet about the book they're reading, a mention in conversation about the project they're working on. Each one feels justified. Each one feels like sharing rather than performing. And each one is a small withdrawal from the account that was supposed to be accumulating. This video is about why that pull exists, why it's stronger than you think, and the specific mechanics of resisting it while the people around you keep performing and occasionally getting rewarded for it. Because here's what makes this hard. Sometimes the performers win. Sometimes the announcement gets the engagement. Sometimes the person talking about their journey gets the audience and the deal and the recognition before they've built the thing. And when that happens, when the performance is visibly rewarded while your silent work produces nothing visible yet, the pull becomes almost unbearable. Here is what you need to understand about that moment. The performance economy is real, and it is specifically designed to pull you away from the building economy. We live in a period where attention is a currency, where the demonstration of a lifestyle can be more financially rewarding than the lifestyle itself, where the performance of expertise can precede and sometimes permanently replace the actual expertise, where the appearance of building is for many people indistinguishable from the building itself. This is not a moral failure of modern culture, it is an economic reality. Platforms are built to reward signal over substance. Engagement metrics favor the visible over the real. The person who documents their journey gets the algorithm. The person who does the journey gets the result. These are different currencies. They are not interchangeable. And the critical mistake most people make is trying to earn both simultaneously, to be the person building and the person visibly building, without understanding that the two activities compete for the same resource, your attention, your energy, and critically, your motivation. Here's the mechanism. Every time you perform your progress, you spend the emotional energy that was supposed to fuel the next session of work. The validation hit, the likes, the comments, the recognition provides a substitute reward for the actual reward the work would eventually produce. Your nervous system gets the signal that the effort has been acknowledged and the urgency to continue drops. This is not a theory. It is a studied, documented pattern in behavioral psychology. External validation of in-progress work reduces intrinsic motivation to complete that work. The more you perform the journey, the less you feel compelled to finish it. The builders who emerge with something real have learned, usually the hard way, to defer the performance until the building is done. Not because they are above the desire for recognition, because they understand that recognition before completion is not a reward, it is a trap. Why it feels justified, why it keeps happening. The pull toward performance is not stupidity. It is the result of several very intelligent-seeming arguments your mind makes in real time. Argument 1. Accountability. If I tell people what I'm building, I'll feel accountable to finish it. This sounds logical. The research on it is clear. Public commitment works when the goal is simple and the timeline is short. For complex long-term goals, public declaration produces the opposite effect. It provides the sense of progress without the progress, and the accountability becomes a performance of its own. Argument 2. Community. I'm sharing this to connect with people who are doing the same thing. This one is partially true and mostly false. The connection that genuinely supports building is the connection with people actively doing the work alongside you, not the connection produced by announcing to an audience. An audience watches. A collaborator builds. Performing for an audience of builders does not make you a builder. It makes you a performer watched by builders. Argument 3. Documentation. I'm building in public because transparency creates trust, and trust builds an audience. This is a real strategy. It works for a very specific type of creator, the one whose process is the product. If your audience is buying access to your thinking as you build, then building in public is the business model. If your audience is supposed to be buying the result of your building, a product, a service, a body of work, then building in public is not documentation, it is distraction dressed as strategy. Know which one you are. If the process is not the product, stop performing the process, the comparison trap, and what it actually costs you. There is a specific thing that happens when you watch someone in your space announce something, a milestone, a launch, a win, while you are still in the middle of building. Something in you wants to compare, and the comparison is almost always unfair. You are comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel. You are comparing your month 14 to their visible moment, without any information about what their month 1 through 13 looked like, what they sacrificed, what they haven't shown. You are comparing the silence of your building to the noise of their performance, and interpreting the noise as evidence of progress. The noise is not evidence of progress, the noise is evidence of performing. Here's what the comparison actually costs you. It costs you the present moment of the work. Every minute spent measuring your invisible progress against someone else's visible announcement is a minute not spent on the work that would eventually make the comparison irrelevant. The people who are genuinely ahead of you are not ahead because they announced more. They are ahead because they worked more. And if you spend enough time watching the announcements, you will fall further behind, not because you lacked ability, but because you spent your working hours in the audience instead of in the workshop. The comparison trap has one exit. Return your attention to the work, not as a motivational idea, as a physical act. Close the tab, open the file, continue. How to hold the position when the environment pulls you toward performance. The environment will not cooperate. The people around you, online and in person, are predominantly in the performance economy. Your feed will fill with updates. Your conversations will include questions about what you're working on. Your social instincts will be triggered constantly by a world that rewards sharing. You need a set of specific responses to specific triggers, not willpower. Willpower depletes. Specific responses to specific situations that you have decided in advance, so that in the moment the decision is already made. Trigger. Someone asks what you're working on. Response. Something genuine and brief that doesn't reveal the goal. Some things I'm putting together is a complete answer. A project I'm focused on right now, closes the loop without opening the performance. You are not lying. You are protecting the work from the performance economy. Trigger. You complete a significant milestone and the desire to share it is intense. Response. Write it down privately. In a document, a journal, a notes app, record the milestone fully, the details, the feeling, the progress it represents. Then do not share it. Let the record exist for you. The record is real. The sharing of the record is performance. You don't need the second thing to validate the first. Trigger. You see someone in your space announce a win while you are still building. Response. One deliberate breath. One genuine acknowledgement that their win is their win and your work is your work, and these two things have nothing to do with each other. Then return to the work, not from a position of bitterness, from a position of clarity. They are on their timeline, you are on yours. And the only thing you can affect is the quality and consistency of what you're building. Trigger. The work is difficult and invisible, and you want some evidence that it's happening. Response. Review your own private record. A document where you've been recording milestones, kept promises, protocol executions. The evidence is there. It doesn't need to be public to be real. In fact, its privacy is part of what makes it evidence rather than performance. What the silence produces that the performance never can. There is something that happens in sustained silence that cannot be manufactured by any amount of announcement. You build a relationship with the work itself. When the work is not also a performance, it becomes something different. It becomes a private conversation between you and the problem you're solving. You start to notice things about it that you would never notice if part of your attention were always on how to present it. You develop a relationship with the difficulty of it that is yours alone, not mediated by how it looks to anyone else, not softened by the validation of an audience, not interrupted by the need to translate it into something shareable. This relationship is the source of the deepest work, the work that couldn't have been produced any other way, the insights that come only from being alone with the problem for long enough, the solutions that emerge only when the person solving them isn't also performing the solving. This is what the performers cannot access. Not because they lack talent or intelligence, because they have divided the work from the building in a way that produces neither fully. The performance consumes a portion of the cognitive and emotional energy that the work requires. The work produced under those conditions is competent, but rarely exceptional. The work produced in genuine silence over sustained time without the division is different in kind, not just in degree. You will know the difference when you produce it. It will not look like the things you made when part of you was also performing. When to break the silence is not permanent. It has a purpose, and when that purpose is served, the silence ends. You break the silence when the work is done, when the thing you were building exists fully, actually, in the world, not as a concept, not as a process, as a result. Then you share it. And when you share a finished thing, you share from a position that performance never reaches, the position of proof. You are not asking anyone to believe in what you're building. You are showing them what you built. The difference in how that is received by an audience, by potential customers, by the people who matter to your work, is the difference between a promise and a fact. Facts land differently than promises, always. In every domain, the person who disappears and returns with something real occupies a position that the constant performer can never occupy, no matter how large their audience becomes. Because the constant performer's audience is watching a process. Your audience is looking at a result. Build in silence, return with proof, not as a slogan, as a strategy, as the specific mechanism by which the work you're capable of actually gets made. The work is waiting. The silence is the condition it requires. Stop performing it and start finishing it.